What's up, everybody? Welcome to our live broadcast of the Engadget Podcast. This is our live stream. This is where you're going to see a lot of us working on stuff. I'm senior editor Devindra Hardwar. I'm joined with reviews editor Cherlynn Lowe. Hey, Cherlynn, and our producer Ben Elman. So you'll hear Ben chiming in. Ben is kind of controlling the actual flow of the conversation here, but it's going to be Cherlynn and I. How are you guys doing?
I'm exhausted, and I couldn't even be bothered with my hair today. Yeah, and that's why you see it this way. But yeah, to reiterate what you were saying, and for everyone that might be watching, we're not going to be able to talk to the people directly in the chat, which actually seems pretty quiet today, which is kind of nice.
It's a chill chat, yeah.
That's chill today. But we will have segment breaks in between when we're recording for the podcast to be able to answer your questions. So send them our way.
Cool. Okay. Are you guys good to go to kick off the show?
Yes.
I believe so.
Big iPhone time.
Big iPhone time. Oh, boy.
We got a lot to get through today, you guys. It's a huge week.
So much.
Crazy
Okay.
week.
3, 2, 1. What's up, Internet? And welcome back to the Engadget Podcast. I'm senior editor Devindra Hardwar.
And reviews editor Cherlynn Lowe.
Today it's iPhone, and a lot of other news. We got our Pixel 5 review. We have our Pixel 4a 5G and a preview of the Xbox Series X. We'll be talking about all that today on the show. And also Jess Condit from Engadget is going to be joining us to talk about Xbox and her thoughts on that. She's been living with it for a while, so that should be fun. As always, if you're enjoying the show, please be sure to subscribe to the Engadget Podcast on iTunes or your podcatcher's choice. Leave us a review on iTunes, and you can join us live Thursdays around 10 a.m. Eastern. Live, do that bit again, because I have something here. You can join us live at 10 a.m. on Thursdays, typically Eastern. And the benefit of that is you get to see us actually work here, but you can also join in and chat with us about all of our segments. So like, for example, today, we'll be able to chat with people and take their questions about the Xbox Series X. So yeah, be sure to do that. Okay, good to go?
Yes, let's talk about iPhones.
Let's jump into all the iPhones. The iPhone 12, the iPhone 12 Mini, and the Pro and Max version of each phone, and a couple other things from Apple. It was a pretty streamlined hardware event from Apple. There weren't really many surprises, right? We got the HomePod Mini, which is a smaller smart speaker, kind of what we were expecting. We got the iPhone 12, and the entire iPhone lineup has 5G. The only surprise there seems like the Mini, I think, because there were rumors of a smaller one coming. But it is interesting to see Apple focusing on like a actual, premium small phone. And I wonder if that's like worth a deeper conversation from us. We've got 5G. We got a couple cool features. Cherlynn, what really stands out from you? And actually, before we even get to that, I want to say, if you guys want to hear us dive into like every little bit of this, the iPhone presentation, we did a live chat right after that on Tuesday. So you can find that on YouTube. It's a fun watch because we dive into all the little bits of info. This is going to be like a broader discussion. But Cherlynn, what's your takeaway from the iPhone event?
Yeah, I was super stoked for the Mini. I think as someone who's been redabbling with iOS again, that event was, and as someone who like is an Android ecosystem person, that was very, like, I had severe grass is greener syndrome. I was like, oh, that looks so nice.
It does look nice and polished, and it's not crashing all the time.
Well, the iPhone 12 Pro build looks nice, right? That has the shiny edges, the, Pro's camera setup. So that really like seemed more, the sensor shift really stood out to me, I think. Then the 12 Mini just was like a cute little iPhone. The way it fit in the hands that they showed looked really good. So I might consider getting an iPhone 12 Mini.
Okay, I'm holding you to that. I feel like the big thing this year design-wise is that they just went back to the flat edge design, which we last saw in the iPhone 5 and the 5S, which to me felt like the pinnacle of older iPhone cases, because the iPhone 5 was just such a thin, light, sleek thing, and that flat case just felt really good in your hand. This time they're going back to those flat edges basically for the antennas, and because 5G phones need big antennas, so that pretty much the entire outside is an antenna array. There's even like a little dot like a little spot underneath the power button that is like an open
It
antenna
looks
area.
like a SIM tray, but it's basically on the edge below the power button, and it is sort of like a receiver thingy.
Which makes me wonder, I hope they learned a lot from their antenna gate stuff, because everyone's saying that, like, as you're holding it, we've had this problem before. It's going to be even more pronounced on 5G, where antennas are so sensitive and so, like, it's so finicky. So there's that. But I appreciate this new design. I think the iPhone 12, just as a, the phone that most people will probably get, it looks like a really good device because it's they all have OLED screens now. It's
finally,
they're still sticking with 2 cameras. They're not really pushing things. The processor looks good, but it seems like just overall they're kind of refining things here. It's really 5G and a couple of the other things they added too that I think are going to be a big draw for a lot of users. And one of those is MagSafe, which they're bringing back. Wow.
I forgot about MagSafe during, like, when you asked me what stood out, I forgot about MagSafe for a moment, but it stood out. I was just like, oh, this is really cool. Like,
it's really cool.
I don't use a lot of accessories.
But it's nothing high tech. It's a freaking magnet.
I know. That's what Twitter, that was the Twitter take. And it's true, but like, the funny thing is what they've done with it, right?
Yeah.
It seems like and also Apple just has a much more thriving and like case and accessory ecosystem than any other Android phone, just because it's just more unified. There's so much more of them in volume for the one brand. And I'm excited to see like what people make out of this,
because it's honestly, it's more than just magnets. I feel like this is the thing where you talk about Apple usability, where they look at something that's existed before and kind of just make it slightly easier to use. I feel like Apple Pay was one of those because we had NFC payments before. They kind of sucked, and they needed a unified way to kind of bring it all together, make it easy for people. This is just like, hey, it's a magnet, but it's also a smart way to align your phone with wireless chargers, which is a pain. It is honestly one of my biggest pain points with wireless chargers because it's annoying. You don't have the the confidence of when you plug in a cable and it's charging. With wireless, sometimes if it's misaligned, you won't charge at all, or you'll charge slowly. So this is on certain chargers, it's going to align itself with your phone, which I think is a cool thing. There is no
a lot of people have pointed out too that the because it's magnetic and it's so much smaller, and you don't have to leave it lying on the table when you're charging your phone. You can actually hold up your phone and use it while you're charging too, which is a nice change.
That's been a constant problem for us with wireless power. And the other thing, the AirPower is dead. The 3-device wireless charging thing, that's not happening, but they did show off this cool accessory. It's sad. They showed off a portable accessory that could wirelessly charge your iPhone and your Apple Watch, and it kind of folds up together too for traveling, which to me, that just, back when we were traveling again, I am certainly tired of juggling a ton of cables in my bag. The Apple Watch cable is always too long. So it simplifies a lot of things. It's just like quality of life differences. Do you have anything to say about 5G, Cherlynn? Because I feel like that's a big thing Apple's pushing this year, but I think we both know, and we've talked about this on the show, it's not great in the US. It's not going to be great for a while, right?
You know what's a funny story I can tell you right now about that? Is my therapist asked me if it's worth getting a 5G phone.
Did your therapist ask you, is the 5G, is it true?
Because I started opening up more about what I do at work, over the last few months.
And they don't Google you, I assume, They
don't Google you. So now they know, I gave him a heads up where I was like, oh yeah, next week's going to be the Apple event. I'm going to be covering it. And then he uses an iPhone as well. So he was all like,
give me the insider info.
right at the start of our session, he was like, I know you hate, I don't want to talk to you about your work, but I kind of want to ask you about 5G.
You're like, no, this is all the pain in my life, all the pressure in my life. And oh man. Oh, well, that's funny.
I found it so funny. But I think of people like my therapist and my friends as people who are really asking that question, right? People who really need to know whether this is the year to get 5G.
Yeah.
After talking to my therapist, his main takeaway, because he's on an iPhone 11, he was all like, I can wait for the 13. I don't need to upgrade for 5G right now. And I think that's what most people who are on a newer iPhone model should be feeling and should be thinking. Unless you have one of the older ones, or you really want the iPhone 12 mini, I don't think that the 5G is such a big deal on the 12 series just yet, especially because the antenna placement is something they need to figure out over time. So the 13 is likely going to be better.
And the iPhone 12 mini, let's talk a bit about that because it's a notable thing. It's a unique thing. It has a 5.4-inch screen. Apple sold it as an iPhone that fits in the palm of your hand, which imagine that, a phone that actually fits in your hand. Kind of amazing. Yeah,
across the screen with your thumb for some of us.
But it's a unique thing because it's like it's been a while since we've seen good small phones. It's been like the iPhone SE, which they refreshed this year and looks really cool. This thing is even smaller than the iPhone SE. It's a smaller physical device, but it has a larger screen because it has the newer edge-to-edge screen design. So I think for a lot of people, for people like my wife, who I've been trying to get over to an iPhone for a while, and she just doesn't like big phones. Right now, she has a Pixel 3, which is just 0.1 inches bigger than this. So this is going to be an easy transition. Thoughts on the cute, small phone, Cherlynn?
I mean, it is the one I want to get. I prefer the smaller phones. I've always thought, I was looking at the sizes for the 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max, and those are just too big for me. I also, like your wife, have been maining a smaller Pixel, and those are about the same size, I think. So we'll see, though. I mean, like the nice thing too is that compared to the SE, which uses older processors, the 12 mini uses this new 5-nanometer processor, which is great. I can't wait to see what that brings.
It has 5G. It is the smallest 5G phone we've ever seen, too, which is notable. Sure.
Yeah, you're right. Because well, the Pixel 5 is fairly small, but definitely
not this small.
Is smaller than this. Yeah. So no, I'd love to see. I want to test. For me to get the iPhone 12 mini, I would need to know the cameras are great, the battery life is good. I think that's about it.
Battery life is the one area because battery life scales with the size of your phone, and that's always been one big benefit of the bigger phones. You do kind of trade off some battery life for having a bigger screen, but you also get more room to fit in a battery. I wonder what they're going to do with that, and I'm looking forward to seeing like what those specs are.
And they're OLEDs too, so it's like okay,
they're OLEDs. And the iPhone 12 seems fine for what it is. What's interesting is that the iPhone 12 mini starts at $699, which is where the iPhone 11 started. So now the iPhone 12 is starting at $799. So it seems almost like a way to really push people up a little higher in the price range. Let's talk about the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max, because like last year, they're slightly, higher end, more premium versions of these phones. They have stainless steel finishes. They have 3 cameras still, unfortunately. Which is it's a shame because we're seeing a lot more cameras on Android phones, but I feel like this is one respect where Apple is being a little restrained and not going like balls to the wall like Samsung and other folks.
It's arguable how useful those 4 cameras are too. I not to defend Apple. I never want to defend Apple. But
wow, we're seeing the transition here from Android Queen to wow.
No, knowing the experience and the assorted failures that Android has had, I don't think 4 cameras is all that necessary because the 4th usually the telephoto, the extra zoom telephoto in this case, or a macro, right? Like I don't think most people really need a macro on their
I would like
camera.
a macro, but macro seems like the thing that is usually overkill for a lot of these phones. Telephoto makes sense, and telephoto is the thing you get. Actually, no. On iPhone 12, what do you get? You get the wide and the telephoto on iPhone 12.
So
but you get ultra wide on Pro, which is useful.
I like ultra wide.
I like ultra wide lenses. So if you're like in a small room or something, or you just want to get like a really skewed shot, ultra wide is a really cool way to get that. And honestly, being trapped in a house with a baby where we're often in a room and I want to capture a photo and capture everything in the room, sometimes that's the way you have to do it. So those are the benefits there. The iPhone 12 Pros can shoot and edit Dolby Vision HDR, which is notable. I don't know how many people are going to do that because normally that takes professional cameras plus computers to render that HDR. So hey, okay, this is cool.
And this brings us back to a point I think that was made a lot in the 24 to 48 hours after the event, which is that the Pro might be a bit too pro. It might not have the same appeal. And the point I was trying to make also with the 3-camera versus 4-camera setup too is that Apple traditionally, the iPhones are made for the norms, right? Like the people who, the more mainstream audience. So it's really pushing the Pro line with these camera upgrades into maybe beyond the mainstream. Maybe like regular people should just keep to 12 and not consider it 12.
I think that's why they created this whole new line to begin with, right? Because when they debuted the iPhone 10, so the iPhone X, there was never an iPhone 9, right? So we got the iPhone 10, which was the new redesign, and then the 8 series, which were the old designs with the chunky bezels, and those were all the same year. So that was like the delineation. Do you want to try this new thing, or do you prefer the home button? And then eventually they pushed it all to the iPhone 10 design. But yeah, what was it? The iPhone 10s year just seemed boring. It just seemed super boring. Like we got the 10s Max, we got slightly bigger, but that was kind of it. There wasn't really much going on there. Last year's phones is where they really solidified how those things were being different. But yeah, thoughts?
I mean, there was the 10R the same year as the 10s.
Yes,
I think
10R.
That was a similar delineation where there's that slightly, budgetier line, and then there's the higher end line.
Sure.
But this
and the 10R had a bigger screen than the 10s,
which is weird, and it was using this liquid retina, which was LCD. Anyway, this shift to the 12 and 12 Pro is a bit different, where the lower end, so-called lower end phones, actually good enough for most people, rather than like 10R, which was more like the budget light option. And then you have pushing towards higher end specs. I almost think this is Apple's way of getting like the Android people interested, because Android people have always been like, we're at the forefront of cutting edge technology with these pop-up cameras and 4 cameras.
We will never see Apple do a pop-up camera. Talk about Android ideas that Apple won't steal. You're never going to see a pop-up camera. Wow.
Never.
Or a flash
Never,
or whatever.
Or like, good luck if you want to see an in-display fingerprint sensor even. Like, I feel like at some point maybe, but
we could see that. That doesn't feel, that feels...
that might be a steal,
What feels Apple-y is sleek and easy to use, and everything about the pop-up cameras or the like twisting phones. What was it, the LG thing we saw? No, we're not going to get any of that again.
You mean the LG Wing?
The LG Wing, yeah. Talking about the Pro line, so it seems like Apple settled to a point where they have the budget phone, they have the refreshed iPhone SE, they have the mainstream phones, they have iPhone 12, and they have a smaller mainstream phone, which is interesting. I don't know who the Pro and Pro Max are really for now. I will say, for me, as a guy who is chasing a toddler around and wants the best cameras possible, I will always go Pro, but I'm a nerd. I'm a gadget hound,
You might be disappointed, like, because if we're talking about like that whole thing where the Pro is for the very advanced like user who really wants all these high specs or high end specs, this major feature that's missing that Apple will be slow to adopt, I think, is 120 hertz refresh rate.
Yeah, or even 90, a higher refresh rate.
Even
beyond
90,
60
exactly.
Would be nice. Yeah.
But then I feel like Apple's always been behind on display tech, right? It's always been slow to kind of like
slow to
adopt
OLED. Yeah.
Yeah, and HDR was even not supported until recently, and Sony actually started that. So,
but I think they got Dolby Vision before anybody else did. So that was the thing. Like sometimes Apple takes a while, but then they make a leap ahead of other people. So it's a really interesting game that Apple plays of like waiting, jumping.
They jumped because they were also, I think, maybe they were in talks with Dolby to like get the standard together, because HDR standards were just all over the place back then.
Yeah.
So Dolby Vision's now becoming the most popular. I think also because Apple threw its name behind it. So
that's a long story, but the thing is, Dolby Vision used to require hardware like in a device to activate, and that's not the case anymore. Now Dolby Vision can just be software. If your display meets certain specs, it can be Dolby Vision approved, but you still have to pay for it. You have to pay a license fee to Dolby. So I think Apple is at least one of those companies that's willing to do that and get that branding rather than like, Samsung and a lot of other folks.
Right. Or like HDR10 or whichever else HDR standards were out there. But I don't know, people, I was kind of impressed by the footage and the samples they showed at the event. I was just like, oh, really? iPhone cameras are that great now? And I know they've made a lot of improvement over the last year or two. I'm still a pixel camera person at heart, which
they're
we'll get.
Good. I mean, Google's done a lot with one camera, but Yeah, we will talk about the Pixel 5 and kind of what's going on there, where I'm not impressed. I do think like all the videos Apple always shows off during these events are super marketing things, but they showed off a bunch of like videos that were shot right on the iPhone 12 Pro, and I think the dynamic range of those sensors, just the ability of information they were capture in low light, it's a lot of different things. They're good cameras that do a good job, and I'll say this as somebody who has trouble sometimes with cameras that can't quite capture my dark skin. It looks like this camera will actually be good with that too. And I feel like that's the thing you can't quite sell because a lot of people don't understand it. But I think the overall low light performance on this phone seems kind of phenomenal. Yeah. So I feel like that's a big plus.
I can't wait to see what our tests of the phone result in, if it's really that great. But we'll see.
Yeah. We got a list of things we were waiting for too, like rumors that we were wondering about. So there is no, we did not make the shift to USB-C this year.
Yeah.
A lot of people assumed we would. Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, we lost the cable in the box or something.
No,
right?
We have the cable in the box. We have, and actually the good cable. It is the USB-C to Lightning cable, which you previously had to go pay extra for. Actually, the last time I bought one of those, I was in Taiwan for Computex, and I was like, oh, damn. Somehow I left the hotel without my cable. So I went to a random Apple reseller, pointed really hard at the cable I wanted, and got it.
Like translate or anything?
You were not there, but it's fine. Everybody, the thing I love about Taiwan and our Computex trips is that English, it's okay. Or like people get it. So yeah, that is the good cable, but you need a good charger, and you need that's the thing. The AC adapter. Yeah,
the AC adapter, but with the C socket, right? Yeah. Like, so a lot of people don't have that. I mean, my parents were like, my dad was all like, I can't plug this computer, and he's like on the desktop running Windows XP.
It's true. That's true. So yeah, USB-C, not everywhere in computers. I think the assumption is, and some Android manufacturers are doing this, is that you could plug it into any of the AC adapters you have or your computer. But if you don't have C yet, that's kind of a pain. Yeah. I will say Anker and a lot of companies are producing really nice, inexpensive, powerful AC adapters for USB-C. So you can find those pretty much everywhere. And the other thing, there is no headphones. There aren't headphones in the box, which Apple took great pains to explain as a like environmental thing, right?
Yeah, I get it. This is a conversation that I hear both sides on. Like, I see why we want to reduce e-waste. A lot of people don't need that component anymore, but not. I think when you're shifting, where the cable included in the box is so different from previous. I think that's not the time yet to like remove these bricks. But I also understand that not everyone, like is like me, that, and I have a lot of access.
I have a lot of random headphones too, but here's the thing: the headphones in the box, even though they were like the reshaped earpods, that was the name, right? They still sounded kind of crappy. If you went to a drugstore and spent $10 on like a good pair of headphones, any headphones, they would probably sound better than the earpods. Now you have to find USB-C headphones, which aren't, or Lightning headphones, so they're not as prevalent. You're not getting the Lightning to 3.5 millimeter jack. Beautiful cable jack. We're not getting that in the box anymore. So connecting headphones is going to be a lot more difficult for more people. I think they're relying on people making the jump to wireless and the
Beats, right? Didn't they announce the Beats for $50 with that? Not at the
Is it the Beats Flex? I think that was the name. But we got what's funny is they didn't talk about these new Beats during the actual iPhone event, but we had the news about it. $50 for over, it's a necklace style wireless earbuds with 12 hours of battery life. It is not the sequel to the Beats X I wanted, but it does have more battery life, and I do like that style of phone. So I feel for a lot of people, $50 for decent wireless headphones, that's not bad. That seems like a good thing.
So I think the removal that, I mean, I back when I used an iPhone for my main, how
long ago was that? Let's put this in perspective, Cherlynn.
I feel like I remember this being in Singapore at the very least, or like 7 or 8 years ago. So I would, every time I get a new iPhone, like I would hold on to the new one and try to use my older earpods for as long as possible. Because I'm like, look, it's going to be like, I have to replace it at some point. I know I have to hold on to the new ones. I have to, like, that sort of thing.
The new earpods,
because even buying the wired ones back then was like more expensive than a regular pair of wired earphones. So anyhow, I get the point. It's a conundrum. So
it's a new world. I don't think it's going to be annoying for a lot of people, especially if they're not in the news and they're not seeing what's happening, especially if you gift an iPhone to somebody and it doesn't have all the components they need. You kind of have to be more aware as a shopper. That stinks. Apple will be happy to sell you replacement accessories, but it's not great overall. I do think the environmental impact, that is a thing I've been thinking about because we talk about devices so much. All the gadgets we discuss and the things we tell people that, hey, you should probably buy this, have a huge environmental cost. And even the small things in the packaging, like the headphones you may never use, have a cost. So it is probably, this is where we have to go because we've turned this world into living hell. So we have to kind of scale back somehow. That makes sense to me. One other thing is that they have not shifted at all from the iPhone 10 design, and that's specifically the notch design on the front screen. And I'm used to it, but I am certainly, that's the thing when I look at an Android phone, any Android phone with a pinhole camera, and I just see all display on the front. That just feels like, man, what am I missing? It's just a couple pixels. It's not very much, but it does feel like you're missing something. And I think on the iPhone 12 mini, it is not proportional. So it's actually, it looks like it takes an even bigger chunk of the screen than it does on the 12 and others, right?
Yeah, it does look like that. And as someone who, again, has been Android for a while and having seen this feature on Android phones for a while, I can tell you, like, yeah, it's nice because Android also has by now figured out how to avoid the cutout in the hole with the notifications. Before, when it was first introduced, it was like, whoops, you can't see one.
Now it's like freaking magic. Now it's like there's a camera in the front and no actual spot for it.
Exactly. So this is one way. Like, I mean, we've pointed out so many ways that Apple tends to lag the competition, and now, like, yes, it is iterating or improving on certain things ahead of Android, but definitely there's still a lot of catch up Apple has to do.
Gotcha. And one more device before we give up on Apple, the HomePod Mini. Like, let's last but not least, but probably least, is the HomePod Mini, which is the new $99 smaller version of the HomePod. It looks fine. It looks fine. Like I described it, it looks like a sliced open grapefruit that you'd get, for breakfast somewhere.
That's a really good price for an Apple product. Like, the HomePod was a lot more expensive than that. $99 makes it a lot more competitive with the Nest Audio that we just reviewed and the Amazon Echo. It seems like now, instead of putting this extreme focus on sound quality like the original HomePod, Apple is like, oh, we need to make a speaker that's smart.
Yeah, this is affordable.
Yeah. So this is a way for Apple smart home ecosystem people to get a smart speaker, because otherwise you're going to just use Amazon.
This is one you could put in your kids' rooms or something, and they don't have the stuff like there's no Alexa always listening, although there is Siri back and forth, but that's usually local on the device. I'll say, like, I've seen some speaker comparisons. I believe this thing has only a single driver, which really puts it behind the Amazon Echo or the
Nest Audio is impressive.
The Nest Audio sounds all right. This isn't going to be a great sounding device, but I think it's a good way to spread things around. They introduced an intercom feature, which Google has, Amazon has. One cool thing is you'll be able to drop into your kids' AirPods. That is funny. Teenagers everywhere will hate it. Parents everywhere will be like, this is exactly what I need.
Here's our distinction, Dev. You're the parent on this conversation. I'm the one who remembers being a teenager. Not that you don't, but I remember.
It was 5 years ago, but yeah, for you. Yeah.
Yes, I wish that were like, I would put on my headphones just to drown out my parents yelling at me. And now
they could be like, hey, we bought you these headphones so we can jump in whenever we want. Yeah.
I'd be like, fuck off.
You would be that to your parents. Oh, sure. I believe you, Cherlynn. Sure.
I might not be, I don't know. But it's a funny feature to see.
Yeah. So do you think this is going to be the last Apple news we see this year? Because there were still some things people were expecting, right? Like maybe some of the new MacBook news. We haven't heard about any new Apple TV things, which seems like now seems like a good point for it. Is there going to be another event, you think?
The rumors and the expectation is that there will be an event in November.
Okay.
the people who have been watching the industry more or less know. Usually, I think in the past they've held like a Chicago event for education stuff around November. I can't really
But that was
remember.
typically like cheap iPads, and we've already had the iPad news. Yeah.
This will probably be MacBook.
One rumor I saw too was like the Apple TV is going to get like the ultra wideband chip, and a lot of the devices are going to get this ultra wideband functionality, which will allow it's sort of like localized GPS in that they will work directly with your iOS devices. They could tell like when you come home or something.
Yeah, basically it's similar to millimeter wave 5G technology, but because it's so like high on the spectrum and short frequency, and like the propagation is shorter, it's really meant for these contained spaces. But it's so like the throughput is so good, the latency is so much better just within that space. I'm really excited to see like once all these devices have it integrated, how it'll work out.
It's interesting. Like if you had HomePods and you walk from room to room, if your audio would just like follow you from room to room, that would be kind of cool without manually doing it. This is all speculation, but this is what ultra wideband could allow for.
And that's something that I know Google has been working on, this idea of multi-room audio and your music following you from room to room. Sure. This could be that seamless implementation we're thinking.
Or even like video content too. So anyway, that's all the stuff we're expecting. Let us know what you guys think about all the Apple news. Will you be upgrading? I'm having a hard time thinking if I should upgrade from the 11 Pro just because it's not good enough yet, but I really do want to get my wife the 12 Mini. So we'll see how that goes.
And I also want you, dear listener and viewer, to let us know where you stand on this e-waste debate. I want to hear from people out there, not us reviewers. Whether you need that thing in the box.
Yes. podcast@engadget.com. Drop us a line.
Okay. Let's take a second to talk to the chat a little bit.
Sure. And also say the video message, tweet us at Engadget with #podcastlive if you want to go get through us that way too. But YouTube chat is easy.
Yeah, so like in terms of like the Pro stuff, I think especially like Pro Max, that's for Boban Marjanovic, that's for Taco Fall, that's for Bol.
All these names, I'm like, who? What? Okay.
Yeah, all of these are basketballsmen.
Sports, okay.
Yes, they're the tallest NBA players in the league right now. So like the Pro Max phones are literally for NBA players and maybe like the weird people who should be playing in the NBA. I have a friend who's like 6'7" and has literally never played basketball.
And those Max phones, they're a half-pound, which is a hard thing to hold, a hard thing to walk around with in your pocket. So that's the thing that always keeps me away from them.
Not when you're a human tree.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. All right, do we have questions?
So yes, we've got a couple of questions. One question from Zach. Zach just commented like fast charging isn't good for battery health. So I'm actually very curious about this. What is there a consensus on whether or not fast charging is bad for battery health?
The physics of that is probably true. We know like high heat is bad for all these devices, but it's Qualcomm that's been selling the fast charging thing for a while, and they've been developing it. Is this Apple's own tech? Because they're not using the Qualcomm hardware like this, right, Cherlynn?
I wouldn't
we don't know
how
they're doing it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't use Qualcomm's version and use something of their own, just because they don't like paying Qualcomm licensing fees, and they fight really hard with Qualcomm. There's so many lawsuits between those two companies that I'm like, you know what? Probably not. I will say also OnePlus is another company that we'll talk about later in this show that likes to talk a lot about charging speeds, and it's one of the biggest draws for the fans of that company.
We have not seen the data that says it's killing your battery life early, but hey, the old advice of like, don't leave your phone plugged in too long because the overcharging can kill battery cells. A lot of phones are smart now, and I know the iPhone is pretty smart where it'll learn your habits. So like if you leave it charging overnight, it'll charge like part of the way and finish it as you're about to get up or something. So there are ways they're getting around that. I don't know if it'll really matter if you hurt your battery too much with fast charging, just because you're probably going to be replacing your phone within 2 to 3 years. But if you want to keep your device for 3+ years, 4 years, then you may want to consider, the harm you're doing to the battery. I'd say even every 2 years, you'd want to replace that battery, just from what we've seen from all mobile devices. Even refreshing an older device with a new battery gives you a lot more life from it. Yeah.
Sorry to.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I shout out to all the people that are here. Like again, our usual one of our regulars, Mark Dell, is here. Cell Wonk is a name I've seen before too. So as well, hello, Kay Titus, Dave McCree. Mark Dell points out that they were hoping that the thing under the power button, where we think we has a 5G antenna, was a fingerprint reader, and I think that that would, honestly, Apple bring back the fingerprint reader. It's okay. I
it's
like
okay.
That thing.
But put it under the screen. It's not that hard. Everybody else is doing it. Come on.
Then there's another question about whether or not to switch. So I think this is from Callie at Kaylee. Switch. Would it be worth it to switch from the iPhone XR to the Pixel 5? Or if you wanted to get into the Pixel ecosystem, what would you suggest getting?
We're probably going to talk more about that with Pixel line.
Oh yeah, like we're about to talk about Pixel. So
yeah.
Enjoy this backside comparison right now. This is not the 10R, but possibly the 10S right now. Too many notifications right now. But yeah, well, I think it's a big change. I don't know that it is necessarily an upgrade.
Yeah.
This is my early answer for you. We'll get into it.
We'll get into it.
I realized that I might have said XR. Ugh. Gross.
10R.
Yeah,
Come on.
Sorry.
But that one's that is 3 years old at this point. So time for an upgrade. Although we're going to talk about the other Android phones, and there are some really cool alternatives to the Pixel 5 that you may want to consider too if you're ready to platform jump. Anything else, Ben?
No, I mean, actually, someone just asked what the best mid-range phone is, and I think we'll talk a lot about that because we're about to talk about Pixel. We're about to talk about OnePlus. So let's go straight into that.
Okay, I will kick it off for you, Cherlynn. It is 10:37, so yeah, we got time. We just probably won't have as much time for Q&A, but we'll see how that goes.
For a second Q&A, yeah. So guys, we're about to start recording again, and we'll only be able to look at the live chat after.
Cool. Let's move on to our Pixel 5 reviews, and also not just Pixel 5, the Pixel 4a 5G, 2 Pixel devices we just reviewed this week. Thoughts, Cherlynn? Broad thoughts? Because I know you didn't do the Pixel 5, right?
Well, I have both phones, and in my review, I compared the 4a 5G to the 5 a lot too, because my overall thoughts is that the Pixel lineup this year is hella confusing.
Yeah,
it's like, first of all, like, Google, what were you doing, bro? Like, and then secondly, like, which Pixel to get is also a big question. So obviously, I'm sure you are too. I advise like my friends in the real world what phones they should get, and I've been trying to convince people to go on the Pixel, like to get on the Pixel bandwagon.
Apple or Google just like threw a wrench into all your recommendations now. Yeah,
maybe, yeah, entirely possible, because one of my friends, she's an artist, and she recently gave up on the Samsung Note series that she's been using for a long time, and she's like, should I really make that switch to Apple because she just bought an iPad? I'm like, it might be better for you, but hold on for the Pixel 5. And now the Pixel 5 is here, and I'm like, oh no.
Now go iPhone. Especially, I will say, like, so much of our devices are defined by our ecosystems, and your life is much easier if you have devices that play well together. So that is the Apple trap, but that's also partially the Android trap and the Samsung trap. So that's also one reason I want to get my wife away from Android, because it's so much easier if we're all on iOS. Yeah.
It's true. Like if you're you're not just taking care of yourself, you want to play nice with other people, you have to make sure you're all in the same ecosystem, because like for you, AirDrop will be so much easier to use with your wife rather than whatever the hell you're using now. For me, I've got Google's new nearby share feature I can use with a bunch of phones, but Android's a little fragmented.
A bunch of phones, but you don't know which ones, and you don't know how to Android. Okay.
I'll get on Pixels. Just Pixels. Anyhow, so we did these. We cranked out these reviews, me and Chris Velasco, our senior editor for mobile. And I think both of us feel largely the same way. I have a lot of fun review stories to tell you about, though. I mean,
does it involve trying to fall? Because I think those are the only stories we want to hear about.
Not this time. Not this time. Basically I needed to test like some of the new features, and thankfully this time no 5G testing for me. Just I didn't have to pace up and down a block to get 5G. But one thing that kept happening when I was trying to test new features was I kept grabbing the wrong phone. It's like, so I have the 4A that I'm using as my daily driver now, and then the 4A 5G. And honestly, one of the differences is that the size, the 4A 5G is slightly bigger, is a 6.2-inch screen compared to the 4A, which is like a 5.8-inch, 8.1-inch. But it the difference isn't that big when you put them side by side. And when I'm holding just the 4A 5G, I'm always like, is this the small guy or the bigger guy? And you kind of always had to flip behind to be like, oh, there's a double camera. And I just was testing features and I was like, wait, why doesn't this phone have them? And it turns out I was using the 4A, not the 5G. So that's one thing, right? Like just based on their faces and holding them on their own, they're hard to differentiate. The other thing was
not many people will have that problem, but that is a very Cherlynn specific problem. I think it does speak to like the lack of design differentiation among all these devices. Which could
be a good thing, right? Like it's not a bad thing. But the thing about like lack of differentiation, especially between the 4A 5G and the 5, is that it makes it hard to be like, well, which one do I get? Because the difference between the two, the major feature that's missing to me anyway on the 4A 5G is water resistance. Like when I recommend people what not to get or what to get in the Pixel lineup this year, I'm just like, how clumsy are you?
Well, also, and here's the joke we make about 5G is that for a lot of, does it have the millimeter wave stuff? Because
so that's the other.
You need to be outside to get some of these super fast 5G speeds. Maybe outside in the rain. That's not great if you don't have water protection.
I used the 4A 5G in the rain a little bit because it was drizzling during our review video shoot, but it was fine. It's just you can't like drop it in the pool or something. The thing you were saying about millimeter wave, that's the other problem with the 4A 5G is that it starts at $499, but if you want millimeter wave, you need to spend $100 more to get Verizon's millimeter wave model,
which is faster than the
Sub 6.
Yeah.
And it's the one that you want to get for that speed boost, but it's not widely available yet. The nodes aren't all over the place.
Yeah.
And what I think is problematic, because we were also talking about Apple earlier today, is that Verizon made this model that's $100. Like Verizon has this, and Verizon, by the way, is our parent company, but they have no control over editorial content. Verizon and Google have this like specific carrier version for their millimeter wave 5G. And then like at the Apple event, Verizon was just like, hey, we're launching nationwide Sub 6. So you don't actually spend an extra $100 for the Pixel, but nah, we don't care about you.
You kind of do, because nationwide Sub 6 is not going to be, it's not going to be a huge speed boost. Like they're just building on top of LTE at this point.
But Verizon customers who wanted a Pixel 4a 5G, which I admit is a very small set of people, just got pretty screwed. I think
like, everybody benefits from a wider network, right? Because
but you can't use the base 4a 5G on Verizon. It doesn't seem like, right?
On Verizon Sub 6, but not Verizon millimeter wave.
But you still have to pay $100 extra to buy the Verizon version, which has both Sub 6 and millimeter wave.
Yeah.
So this is something we're going to figure out. I already sent a question.
I
already sent a question out to Google and Verizon, being like, well, what happens now to this $100 more expensive version? We'll figure that out.
We didn't talk about this in the iPhone thing, by the way, but there were reports too that some carriers like T-Mobile and Sprint have to charge slightly more for the iPhones, I think based on the 5G stuff.
It's not that they are charging more. It's that the AT&T and Verizon models come with carrier discounts. So they're actually $100 cheaper. And no idea why T-Mobile didn't want to go along with it, because maybe they were not happy that Verizon was on stage at the Apple event. Who knows?
That could be it. And also T-Mobile's like growing. Well, I mean, the Sprint thing isn't done, but it was approved, right? So
Sprint is so dead. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just moved away from T-Mobile too, because man, it's also bad, especially out here in Georgia. But okay, Cherlynn. So we have what is up? Like general thoughts of the Pixel 5, because the review, Chris's review felt very lukewarm. I don't know if it's like the mid-range processor, if it's just like other things. Like it doesn't seem like a leap over the 4, and in some ways seems like a step back, right?
In some ways, I think if you're a processor, nerd, I guess is the word for it. you would be disappointed to know that they're using a Snapdragon 765G in the Pixel
7 series.
7 series as compared to the 865 or the 855 that was on the 4. But as has been proven in the A series, Google's really good at making software fly on like not so great or not so fast processors. So it might be okay. Like, don't get too mad just yet because you're saving $200 at least, right, on the Pixel 5 compared to other flagships. But I do think that because V and I basically wrote our reviews together, and his general takeaway is that for the money, there's just so many better options.
Yeah.
OnePlus, I think, came in this week with the strongest competition to the Pixel 5. For $750, the OnePlus 8T offers a really compelling set of features, right? Setting aside the cameras, which is where OnePlus just is not good at and Google's really good at, the OnePlus 8T has like the high-end processor of super fast refresh rate. I think it's 120 hertz. It's got a nice design and clean-ish Oxygen OS software. So in the $750, you don't really, and a bigger battery too, by the way. So
what's the Pixel 5 start at? Is it $699? $700.
Yeah,
okay.
So a $50 jump for a way better processor. I think if you're someone who cares about the spec sheet, like these numbers, I want this processor model, the OnePlus 8.
I would not make that jump. I will say, like, the things you actually see, like the photos you take, I think the camera differences, you'll probably feel more than the processor difference.
I would say that, like, if you care about camera, on the other hand, and if you're a more mainstream user of your phone, then the Pixel 5 is good enough. It's a little expensive for what it is, but I mean, it's already cheaper than a Samsung Galaxy S20. I like to point out that the battery life. There's two things that made me laugh during this review. Laugh at myself. One, the battery test we run is a video rundown test. I usually, when I do like a review battery test, I leave it overnight. I'm like, give it 15 hours to, I should be fine. It should be dead. I start my test at like 7 p.m. The next morning at like noon, I'm like heading out to go to our review shoot. I'm like, all right, it should be dead now. I thought it was dead already. I look over at the phone and it's still going. And I'm like, okay, maybe a few minutes more. So I check. Google's like, this phone should be running for another like 10 hours. I'm just like, what the hell? I can't do this.
Yeah. They probably have some like crazy battery saving thing. Were you looping a video or were you doing like a test?
I was looping a video. And that's our test.
Yeah.
And we asked Google afterwards, and it turns out they do optimize for video playback. So that's why it sucks juice so much slower.
It's weird. So when we test laptops, we turn that stuff off, like some of the special battery saving stuff, because it does it's weird. It's unfair in the way it treats video. But yeah,
I agree with you. We definitely, you and I, when we test laptops, we turn off power saver, we turn off at the brightness dip after 20% thing. These things I also turn off on the phone when we're running a test. But this stuff that Google's talking about, that it's optimized for video playback, it's in the background. It's definitely not something that the user has access to blocking. So, I mean, like if you play a lot of video on your phone, you're going to see much more battery life out of the Pixel 5 and 4a5G. The other new feature, one of the things that Google's really good at, and it differentiates their phones from others, whether it's Android or Apple, is software. And, when Google did call screening as a feature back on the Pixel 3, I was like, oh crap, this is really good. Now with the Pixel 5 and the 4a5G, you get this feature called Hold For Me. Hold For Me is like assistant, when you're calling a helpline or a hotline, assistant like steps in and you can tap it and assistant will be online for you, and then you can like walk and come back later when it's ready. And basically what assistant or Google software is doing is listening to the music on the on the line, and then when it hears someone's voice come on, it'll be smart enough to differentiate from your call is important to us and hello, my name is someone, I'm here to help you, how may I help you, that sort of thing. Like it'll differentiate between those two things and alert you when it's your turn to talk. So testing, just like this is just like a reviewer story, because when I like, how do you test this? You just call a hotline.
Call your cellular, like call your smartphone provider's customer service, really,
or your bank, whatever. I decided to like use the Verizon Fios helpline because it's like an easy number, and I mean Google did set up, by the way, like a fake hotline for you to call and test if you wanted to. But who's gonna use Google's optimized, hotline? hotline to test. So I called Verizon Internet, and I was like, okay. They put me on hold for, by the way, an hour. I was like,
yeah, that's how you know.
This is like I called it peak hour. So then my phone rang, and then on the screen it was like, someone's ready for you. And I was like, oh no, what do I ask them? I didn't prepare a question. So I was like, so I heard about this thing called 5G, and can you tell me how to get it on my home internet? And this poor this poor customer service agent was like, ma'am, you can't get 5G in your home. I was like, but I heard that you can get 5G on DSL.
Oh, you just kept going. Like the worst sketch skit, like the worst improv skit. Wow.
Yeah, but my favorite was when they were like, ma'am, let me tell you all about 5G. And I was like, I know.
Did they go into the Rona thing? It's like, you don't want 5G. 5G's going to give you the Rona.
This person, my customer service agent, was very nice, very kindly explained to me that, like, ma'am, 5G is for cell phones. So you need to call the cell service people to talk about getting.
Although that's not necessarily true, because a lot of, including Verizon, a lot of folks are positioning 5G as like home internet replacement eventually.
That's what I was trying to get at. But yeah. So anyway, I that call, and then I was just like, so how was that experience for you too? It was like really weird, where like I also had to like turn the question back to the service rep, where I was like, did you hear anything at the start of this call?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Service. It just was like a funny experience overall. I was like, I enjoyed getting a lesson from in 5G from someone who may not know as much as me. I don't know. We'll see. But that was hilarious.
Let's wrap this up a little, just because I have a burning question. Which is the better phone, you think? The Pixel 5 or the 4a 5G? Because they're both the 5G phones. They're both like, they're so competitive, and there is a price difference. I feel like that's the thing.
If you look at just judge based on our review scores, the 4a 5G is the higher scored phone. V reviewed the 5, and he would sooner recommend the 4a 5G. For me, I tell people to get the 5 because to me, water resistance is that important.
Yeah. And it's what's the price difference again?
$200 difference if you're not on Verizon. If you're on Verizon, it's $100 difference.
Okay, then yeah.
Some money. And also, if you're paying over 24 months, $200 is like less than $10 a month. So really the difference isn't that great. I think V's issue with the 5 is more that the competition is so much better. For me, I like Google software experiences enough to want to stick to it. But I agree that there's no like boom, wow, that sort of like attention grabbing feature. So
what about buying last year's Pixel 4, which you often find on sale or refurbished or something? Because that would be a great deal, and that'd be a more powerful phone. No.
Just no, because one of the things they improved on the Pixel 5 and 4a 5G is battery life.
Okay.
The 4 and 4XL were notorious for terrible battery because of the solely, we think, the radar sensing chip.
And they killed that. There's no more radar sensing.
Exactly. Yeah. They're like, oops.
Nobody cares.
No one wants this. So yeah. But it's still, I think the other reviews from other publications were like, the Pixel 5 is really, really good. I think it's really good because it pared down and went back to the basics and it nailed the basics, and the cameras are pretty good too.
I do feel like it'd be more, go ahead.
Cinematic pan. Ooh, checks out. It's like, ooh. So
is that just panoramic, a better panoramic?
Like, no, cinematic pan is this video stabilization mode that gives you like better quality, like cinema quality pan footage, because it slows the video speed to like twice the frame rate, so like about half the speed, and just like packs in the frame, so it just looks so smooth. It just looks so good.
It's just shooting high speed video. That's just shooting 120 FPS or more video.
Yeah. I mean, but they're calling it cinema, and but it's also working with the scene to stabilize in part as well. Okay. It's not in the frames.
That's interesting.
Pretty.
Okay, so Pixels this year, kind of confusing.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. Choose carefully, choose wisely, Android fans.
Yes.
Cool. We've got 5 minutes for questions.
Yeah, we've got a few minutes before Jess comes in. One big question that someone asked a couple of times. Brian wants to know: Pixel 5 or S20 Fan Edition?
Oh, yeah, so that's a very good question. That also V was bringing up too, which is he kept saying the S20 FE he felt was better. For me, I mean the specs are better, right? Like the design is nice, the screen is nice. I think it also has a 120 hertz screen. But for me, I always prefer Google's cameras to Samsung's.
Sure.
So
and also Google software to Samsung. So
I love Google. Well, Samsung's One UI, not to knock it, it really has some better features than Google. Like the Gallery app is actually better on a Samsung phone. The video editor that's built in is so much better on a Samsung phone. So there's all that. But yeah, Brian, I mean, it really depends on your personal preferences when it comes to cameras and software.
Cool.
Now, is the Pixels are known for taking really good pictures. So is that image processing something that is only on Pixel, or is it like Android wide?
So it's you're getting into like hardcore Android like fanery right now. So yes, it is often really the algorithm that's doing a lot of the work. Like I'll take a photo and then when I view it back in the gallery, I can see like the base image and then the boom, like what it's edited afterwards. There's that split second change and it's great. And then one thing that Android fans or Android experts do is instead of using whatever built-in app came with the Android phone, they bought like say a Samsung with good hardware and sensors. They'll download the Google Camera app on that phone to also take advantage of the processing. I haven't really done that enough to know if it makes that much of a difference, but people are like hype about that.
No.
Because I was wondering whether or not like that could be the base image processing for all Android eventually.
If Android were a more unified system, then yes, that's how it should
something
work.
that they wanted to save just for the Pixel. You know, if you want this base image processing, get a Pixel. Like, is that part of their value proposition?
Yeah, Cherlynn, I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick, but I will let you handle this.
Yeah, definitely. There's certain things that Google wants to keep to the Pixel line, and they, it's usually things like Hold for Me that I just talked about, or like some assistant-based things. But they also tend to like roll it out. The fact that you can download the Google Camera app and use it on your other Android phones is one of the ways to get around it. I don't know what else is happening at the base level where the software talks to the sensor directly. I don't know if there's anything there that Google might be keeping just to the pixels. I could ask.
And then a lot of the other comments I'm seeing are, I mean, as we were talking about the iPhone 12 and now we're talking about the Pixel, just a lot of people saying that there are serious price disparities in different countries.
I know.
Things are generally like kind of the same between the US and the UK, but then things get really wonky. Like you try to, what's the price of a iPhone or any kind of flagship smartphone in Brazil? Like it's way out of proportion with everyone else. Same goes for India. Same goes for some other Southeast Asian countries. Like, do you have any idea why that may be?
I can't tell you the why of it. I think maybe each country has its own import tax laws. I know that in Singapore, the iPhone's also a lot more expensive. And the Pixel, because I was telling my friend to go consider getting the Pixel 4a, and I was like, it's $350. It's so cheap. It's like 500 Singapore dollars. And if you go on the exchange rate, Singapore is only like 1.2 I mean, like one USD is 1.2 ish, depending on the exchange rate, US dollars, or 1.4 sometimes. Anyway, so that is not actually like a apple to apple conversion, right? There's certain things going on there. I know that in Singapore, it's probably related to some sort of import tax. I would say in India too, a lot of people were complaining. Someone on Twitter hit me up, was like, "What do you think about the price in India?" And then like spelled out everything about the iPhone 12's prices to me, where like it's a huge delta. And I agree, it does seem unfair, but rather than blame these phone makers, I will check what's causing these import price differences in your country. Hi, we have a guest coming on in a little bit, and it's one of my favorite team members.
Aw.
Possibly favorite.
Yeah.
It's Condit. Hi. We're gonna have our video team's gonna get Jess all prepped up before we start recording the segment about the Xbox Series X preview.
Speaking of starting recording, Jess, are you recording locally too?
Please do that. Yes.
Yes, please do. And headphones are always good, so we don't pick it up on the mic. Okay.
She's got them.
Yeah.
The really quickly.
Not everyone has huge cans like I do. Okay. Cherlynn, go. Sorry.
To Bryant Co. No Pixel 5 in Malaysia, which, yeah, I mean, again, some countries are slower to get them too. Like in Singapore, the Pixel 4a only just now showed up in the stores. So in some ways, different countries also have to wait for rollout. Mark Dell said something about to stop booking stand-ups during the Engadget podcast. Because Mark Dell had to run away. Okay, we're talking about a super fan here, I think. So... Did we have some other questions? Someone shouted out the Asus ROG 3.
No, never an Asus smartphone. What are you talking about?
But it's gamers. It's an entire republic of gamers.
Zach points out that Sony phones are kind of pricey. Yeah, can I just say Sony phones are... The Xperia phones are hard to justify for like the price.
Sony's such a stubborn company, man, when it comes to phones.
So the question that you pointed out earlier, Ben, about the best mid-range phone, I don't know if we really answered it. Now that there's so much more competition in the space, we've got the Apple iPhone Mini counts, I think, in that $700 price range as a sort of
mid-range. I don't. Okay, so here we gotta settle our ranges here, because I feel like budget range is maybe 200 to like 400. Like that's a budget. Mid-range to me is like 400 to 600, because once you get above 600, then you're like into premium devices and all sorts of stuff.
So then what are we talking about for like the $1,000 phones? Are we talking about?
Yeah, those are flagship ultra premium. Okay. Those are big.
So yeah, I mean, I largely agree with you. I don't think of the Pixel 5, which is in that $700 price range, or the Mini or the iPhone 12 Mini as mid-range phone.
Yeah, those are flagship folks. Yeah.
Bryant, why don't you give us some price range to consider before we answer that question?
But I think like you talked about how much you like the Pixel 4a, and we talked about like that thing is $350. Just it's my wow. Yeah.
$350 USD. Remember, we were
$350 USD. Yeah. Yep.
Mark also talked about a tile competitor coming. Yes, people were expecting Apple to do AirTags because there were so many leaks and rumors about it, but we didn't see that. So maybe that event in November is when they'll announce AirTags.
That's also that ultra wideband tech would be really good for that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So let me just break in. Jess, the video team says something about like if you're running a lot of other like processes on your computer, could you like stream things down because maybe there are frame rate issues or something?
Or kill tabs or whatever.
Yeah.
Killing everything. Yeah.
Also remember to mute everything.
Like
and your devices.
Yeah. Mute devices. Mute dogs if you can.
Mute dogs.
Well,
I mute my cats by keeping them outside of the basement.
All right. Well, everything that I can shut down.
Okay. Video team should let us know.
Yep. Yeah, it's a little. It looks a little compressy, but yeah, we can see you, Jess. We can see you, and we can talk to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for getting up so early.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is what, 8 a.m. for you?
That's not too bad. I was up at 5:30 to make sure that a Xbox story was all set,
Babe.
Just in case.
Okay. I know what you
I know how you feel. The bosses.
Next time, just let someone. It's like 5:30 for you. It's like 8:30 for us.
Yeah.
Just one of our overnight, early morning people.
Or early morning people. Well, that's where I leave it over to our UK crew. Who,
the UK crew, exactly. Yeah. And that's usually who I'm working with anyway. So,
exactly. There you go. That's true. Our gaming people, Nick Summers, and I think Aaron as well, and Matt.
Yep. And Matt, and everybody.
I need to move to London, is what I'm hearing.
Sounds like it. Maybe no. Stay
I
here.
guess.
I still have to go visit and hang out with you.
Maybe we should kill Ben's video on this feed too. Sorry, Ben.
yeah, like once
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in the. Okay, guys, like viewers, this is serious, like sausage making stuff.
Behind
We've got our own like video window here. I'm not seeing anything in the video window right now, so like
that's turned off for us.
Yeah, they turned off
to save bandwidth. Yeah.
Oh, just to save bandwidth. Okay, so I'll turn off my video, and then Jess, if we're sure you're recording locally, let's just go straight into Xbox.
Cool.
Let me hit record.
Okay, that's good.
Good to go. Yeah, you're coming in and out a little for me, Jess, but I think we can make it out. And if you're recording locally, then in the final podcast, it'll sound fine. So that's perfect. Sorry, for the stutteriness, folks. This is live sausage making. It is messy, but I really wanted to talk with Jess about that. Okay.
Low bandwidth.
Low bandwidth.
Low bandwidth because everybody's online. Everybody's way more online than like in their homes than they are usually. Anyway, Xbox.
Well,
okay.
Oh, hey, before I'm actually not recording locally. My GarageBand is not detecting my earbuds.
Oh, great.
So that's cool. That's exciting. And I'm trying to figure that out right now.
Don't worry, it happened.
Yeah. Well, I've been trying to use Audacity, and it just stopped working for me recently. And that was
video folks. I don't know if my crop changed because I had to reset my software a little, so maybe the crop's a little weird on my end too.
So Mark in the chat said hopefully it's better than Bill Nye quality. Yes.
We'll see.
I think that it will be better than Bill Nye quality.
We need to get Bill Nye some gigabit and some Ethernet.
I enjoyed that.
Dude,
that was fun.
That show turned out so well.
Can we find someone to like send Bill Nye some Wi-Fi repeaters or something as a brand partnership kind of thing?
Yeah, and also Mark Dell also consistently shouts out our video crew for like the work they do on these live streams. Where Mark, to answer one of the questions from your from one of our earlier episodes that we never got around to answering, we do prep our topics beforehand so that our video team does have time to look for assets and B-roll to play over the screen while we're talking. So it's not like they're so fast. They are being really fast and great, but it's not like or magic wizards that just like conjure up these things as it happens. But yeah.
All right, ready to go? All right.
Well,
let's.
Well, yeah. The question is if Jess is
Jess ready?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. It's really just.
You let.
God, I feel like I do this.
Let us know when you're ready with the recording side of things.
I'm excited. Everybody, make sure go read Jess's Xbox preview. By the way, it is up on the site right now.
Please do that. Please do that.
I might as
well. No input source selected, guys. I'm doing everything I can.
And that's GarageBand or Audacity?
This is GarageBand. Audacity just is not recording.
Oof.
Do you have any other kind of like?
Or you could hold your phone up to your head.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Well, I mean, I could do.
Could it be?
I could just record.
Yeah, just do like a voice memo thing. That's fine too.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do that. That's easy enough.
Because then it looks,
all right.
Yeah, that's super easy. Yeah.
And I was going to guess that one of the reasons the input isn't working is maybe because your input's being fed to this.
It's a whole thing.
It's something like that. Yeah. Sorry, guys. All right. Well, hey, I'm recording now.
It's okay. It's okay.
We're good.
Okay, you do hold it up to your head like a phone too. Sorry.
Yeah.
So we get a closer mic on you. There we go.
I can do that. Like this.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much. It's okay. This is how the New York Times does it. This is how a lot of people do.
Yeah, that's true.
Local recording. So.
Okay. So if we've got your local recording going, then let's talk about Xbox.
Okay. Let's move on to our preview of the Xbox Series X with Engadget reporter Jessica Condit. Hey, Jess, how's it going?
Hey, guys, going all right. How are you?
I'm so glad we managed to get you on to talk about this. Is one of the biggest hardware news of the week as well, even in a week that's so full of hardware news. And you spent some time with it. Thanks for getting up early. Also,
thank you so much.
For me to join.
No. All good. That's all right. No, I've had the Xbox for like 3 weeks now. So this is the Series X, and that's the big one. And I'm loving it. So I mean, my final preview just went live today. That was the second one. And yeah, I was able to talk about literally everything. It's still a preview console, so this is not like final software. It's running everything it should, but like the UI isn't final and stuff like that. But the box looks exactly like the box will when it ships. Yeah,
your video is so great. I mean, the video that you did on this it looks good. Right. But sorry, what were your main takeaways, I guess, from having spent 3 weeks with this thing?
Oh yeah. So I think the favorite feature that I have is quick resume. And this is one of the features I covered in the first preview. It allows you to jump between games, like active games that are kind of running in the background of the system, and you can just jump into Control and then immediately boot up Doom Eternal, and then immediately boot up Don't Starve. And you don't have to wait for each game to close out and then start all over again. You just pick right back up as if each game were just paused in the background. What's happening? That's really cool. Like that takes a lot of power, and that's something that just like this generation of consoles can't do. Aside from that, like every game was so fast. This library that I'm playing with is basically just the backward compatible library, which I mean, there's a ton of games available on Xbox. That's kind of their selling point for this generation. They have a ton of games at starting line, day one. So I've been playing a lot with Game Pass games, and these are all backward compatible. And they are so fast. The load times between deaths or between levels or fast traveling, it's 3 to 4 times faster than anything on the current gen, generally, is what I'm seeing. So like 10 seconds to load a new, a whole new level. That's kind of unheard of for console gaming. Yeah.
Gotcha. Jess, could we take a pause here? Because I think if we turn off the video in this stream you're doing too, your video, because we're not even using your video on the YouTube channel right now. So if we turn that off, I think you'll get better audio quality too, just to talk with us.
Am I cutting out a little bit?
Yeah.
It just looks a little staticky, distorted, the video itself. Yeah.
Yeah. But we want to hear you more, I think.
Totally.
I can hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Kill your camera, Jess.
I got to do it.
Kill your camera. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. I thought there was a.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's okay.
What even is this program I'm using?
It's OBS.Ninja, but yeah, click the eye icon.
There we go. Okay, it's an eye. It's not a camera. It's an eye.
I know.
Better. This is better.
What is that?
Now I can hear
better?
you, Jess.
Oh, could you hear her before? I'm hearing her. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right. Let's pick it back up. Dev, you were asking a question. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Let me just see here. So yeah, Jess, this is your second preview of the Xbox Series X, which is, man, Microsoft is just really doing a good job of publicizing everything, I guess. What can you tell us about the actual next-gen games? Because I know you spend a lot of time with the older backwards compat games. Does anything look genuinely next-gen yet?
So all these games, well, not all of them, but most of the Game Pass and backward compatible games have HDR upgrades. So they look good. They definitely I'm playing, so I have Fallout New Vegas loaded up right now, which is a 360 game, I want to say. Yeah, it's got to be 360. So, I mean, it looks way better than it did. It kind of, in your memory, these old games look better than they actually were. When you load them up, you're like, oh, right, there were a lot of sharp edges in this game. But when you load it up on the new console, it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of actually how I remember it. It looks nice. And it feels good. But so I played a few new games that haven't technically come out yet. Dirt 5 and Yakuza Like a Dragon. Cool. So these are both they're coming to this gen and next gen consoles. So it's not totally built for this system necessarily, but it does take advantage, of some of the higher processing power and everything. So Yakuza looks amazing. load times in that game have never been terribly long. So comparing that wasn't like a huge thing, but it was really speedy, super fun to play, looks good. And then Dirt 5 was super crisp. Like that's where I was really kind of testing latency and just trying to see if I could feel any pauses between me hitting a button on the brake and the car stalling or something. But it was so smooth, and it feels exactly like the next generation should, honestly. It's a better, faster console, and that's what we want.
I think one thing, it's just the convenience of it sounds kind of amazing too, but Jess, do you think we kind of took a step back with the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 generation where games had to be installed? Like it was it was so different from the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 era where you could just like pop in a game and just start playing. And maybe occasionally you'd have an update to do, but you could just play games off discs. To me, this feels like we're getting back to that sort of like ease of use when it was just easy to pop in new games, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I actually see Microsoft, they really tried to do what they're doing now. They tried to do with the Xbox One. Right.
Yes.
They tried to launch this console that had DRM built in where you have to install every game, and Microsoft kind of controls how you can use them and all this stuff. But what we kind of give up in terms of DRM, we gain in being able to access a huge library of games instantly, digitally. We gain in not having to deal with a process of packaging a game, of paying for the plastic and the actually shipping the game discs and all that. It changes the entire market, and it actually, I think, makes it easier. It's really made it easier for developers to ship games, indie developers to ship games, all that stuff. So I see where this has, I don't know, I guess I wouldn't call it a step back, but I do see it as I see it as making sense with where our lives are. We're living online. Digital life is not a new thing. Online connectivity is reaching that plateau. Enough people have a good enough internet connection to be able to use services like Game Pass and like xCloud and all these other things. So no, I see it as a natural and beneficial evolution. Just kind of making games more accessible, like you say. Like there's so many games. Game Pass is such a good deal. Like I cannot stress that enough. Like I'm not an Xbox fangirl. It's such a good deal. Why wouldn't you do it?
This is what it's going to take to get Cherlynn to get an actual console, because I think the Series S is perfect for people like Cherlynn who want to play games and don't want like a huge barrier to entry or want to buy $60 games all the time. Like it seems like a great deal.
I have to even say, like, when Jess, you were talking about quick resume, I was already like, wow, that already sounds better than my Switch.
It is certainly better than your Switch.
Yeah. And the Game Pass library, I mean, I pay for, what is it, like Nintendo Online, just to have some of the online features on the Switch. And then I think I bought like a few games at the very start of it. So I spent a few $100s on games. And now like I could just take that money into Game Pass and then have this library of games. I really do think, like you guys said, is a good deal. I'm not 100% committed to getting a gaming console.
Cherlynn, so
yet.
you have so many Android devices. You can just subscribe to Game Pass and just use those Android devices and play games over the cloud. That is kind of where we're at right now.
You should start there.
So, we were talking about the iPhone 12 earlier to this episode, and we didn't mention that League of Legends got a shout out. Jess and I talk about how we like League of Legends, and I mean, I could play League for free on my PC. That's how I play it. But like, imagine though, like with a PC Xbox Game Pass, I think integration as well, and I'm sure there is one. Like the availability of games to me would be more, and maybe that's what sucks me in enough so that I'm like, I need a proper controller for
if
this.
you subscribe to Game Pass, Cherlynn, you could play the PC Game Pass games on Windows, which there are quite a few right now, and those the streaming stuff on Android.
Yeah, but you know what? I've just been playing so much solitaire.
God damn it,
wow,
Cherlynn.
solitaire?
God damn it. Yeah, this is so, Jess, this is what I have to deal with every week.
Baby.
Yeah.
Babe, I I've
I
been
love you. Okay.
every time I launch the app on a new phone, the Solitaire app that I use, which is
Yeah.
Microsoft's own,
You just jump
they're
in
like,
and 12
sign
hours
in with
go
your
away.
Xbox account. I'm just like, what kind of gamer do you think I am? Like, I'm
Wow.
playing. The other game I started playing recently, and this isn't a game, is Duolingo. So,
Hey,
Well, that's
at least
fun.
you're
No,
learning
that's
something.
fine. Yeah, that's cool. I get that.
but maybe this is a year. Maybe the Xbox Series X. That's the one that we just previewed, right? This is the high end one, the X high end one.
The big
S
box.
though, sounds like the one that I should be thinking of getting if I go get one, right? Or is that what you think, Jess? Because you know my style.
Yeah, so the S is actually probably, I don't know. I don't know what I would get. If I was just kind of weighing my options. Like I'm telling people though, like I'm telling my younger brother and like my nephews and my niece, the Xbox Series S, it makes sense. It's $300 and then it's all digital. The only concern, like, if you have Game Pass, it makes so much sense. Please get the Xbox Series S for that. But the only thing is the size of the onboard storage is about 512 gigabytes, I believe. And that's not all going to be dedicated to games. Like some of that's going to be used for other stuff. So that's not a lot of storage, especially considering the size of a lot of next gen games, which is, I mean, probably around 100 gigabytes is kind of standard. So, if you want to have apps on there too, you can't really have a lot stored on the console. But hey, Dev, you had mentioned something that I didn't actually include in the preview. So you were talking about cold storage, yeah?
Cold storage. So yeah, the problem of this new generation is storage. So the Xbox Series S and X use this new SSD that's built, it's in the console. It's super fast. There is that expandable 1 terabyte Western Digital drive, or Seagate drive, which is over $200. That's what those drives cost. Unfortunately, it seems like a lot, but that's what NVMe SSDs cost. Your other option is to plug in any old, USB portable hard drive, and you can play the older games off of those. So you could play the Xbox, 360 and Xbox One games. The Series X games can be stored on those devices. So you can offload it off your main storage, so you don't have to re-download it again. And then when you want to play it, you have to move it back over, it's annoying, but I do think for a lot of people, you could get, a 4 terabyte portable drive for around $100 these days. And it's not the most stable thing in the world. And it's not fast, but it'll play those older games just fine. So I think people are going to stack up on all these things.
And that's kind of how it goes sometimes, right? Just with new console, they sell a certain amount of storage and then they're selling the accessories. It's a very Apple move, I think.
Storage is expensive. Storage, among the things we're paying for on these consoles, it's the storage, it's the GPUs really, and SSDs are so fast right now, but they're expensive. There's no getting around that, unfortunately.
Jess, do you think I should get an Xbox or a PS for my first for my first adult console?
Oh, how fun! Well, okay, so
the Switch is an adult console. Come on,
the Switch is an adult console.
For my higher end console.
Okay. Yeah. I'm using in my house, we have a PS4 and I've been using that for years. That's been our main console. And I have an Xbox One, but we just ended up on the PS4 more often. That's how it goes. So I'm switching from this PS4 to this Xbox ecosystem right now. And that's where I started my gaming life was Xbox. So it feels really nice to come home kind of.
Kind of nostalgia. Yeah.
It kind of does. So I haven't played with the PS5 yet. It hasn't. There's an all digital version of that one as well. I don't know. I have no idea what that's looking like. I'm sure it's going to be just fine though, right? It's a new console. It's going to be faster, smarter, all that. But I am very much enjoying the Xbox right now. So if I had to give a recommendation, I mean, I can't say don't get an Xbox. That's all.
I'm just gonna be I will definitely have to wait for what games come out that lure me into that ecosystem, and then I'll make that decision. For now, the Switch is perfectly fine.
Gotcha. Any closing thoughts, Jess, on this preview so far? We're still working on the review will happen, ahead of the launch, but we're gonna be working on that down the line.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. It's a weird year, obviously, for everything, but this is still exciting. it kind of makes me forget that there's like a whole election coming and everything. Like, oh, these consoles are coming. We could just focus on that instead, and I think we'll be okay. But no, please focus on the election too, everyone.
Gotcha. Please focus on the election, everybody.
Please.
Consoles are great, but you need to survive to play the games, okay?
Let's take care of that first.
Oh, man. Jess, where can we find you on the internet, Jess?
I am on Instagram, Jess L. Condit, Conditt, and Twitter, Jess Condit. Find me.
All right.
Thanks for
Thank you so much, Jess.
Wait,
Cool.
so stick around. We're going to do a Q&A with the live audience on
If you've got
YouTube.
time, yeah.
If you have
Of course, yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. Won't be too long. Let's see.
See here. I never have this window
Actually,
open. 'cause
Jess,
there's so much-
just
yes.
for the recording, can like they said, thanks for being here. Can you just say bye or something, and then we'll get to the
Oh, yeah.
questions.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Okay, there we go. That's it.
Perfect.
That's all we need. You can stop the recording if you want.
Cool.
Your phone recording. Make sure it saves and everything, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've some interesting comments. HR Terror says, like, they gave a little corrective to what Dev was saying about cold storage, like outboard storage on an HDD. He said that you really need USB 3.1 or higher in order to get that to work. So it's not like you could plug in a USB 2.0. Like,
you can't.
so
don't plug in a
random,
4-year-old
like,
external
thing.
hard drive. Yeah.
That's something that stupid me would try to do, to be quite honest. Also, HR said Microsoft Solitaire has achievements, right?
Yes, that's why I'm on it. I am currently
God.
Klondike Grandmaster level 7. Just
the
so
only
you know.
person on the leaderboard right now. Wow.
I want to see
it's-
your Xbox profile when you sign up. It's just going to be all solitaire. It's gonna be
Devindra
amazing.
first took a look
Oh,
at my
God.
Switch profile, and he was like, "She spent so many hours on
She
Overcooked."
spent like 100 hours on Overcooked, and you just got it a week
Amazing.
ago. I don't know how that's possible. Wow.
I was someone I think Tahama pointed out just that your Xbox Series X video coverage has been amazing. I just wanted to re-shout that out because I think you've done such a great job.
Yeah,
Thank
if
you.
your video was cooperating a little bit more, I would want to see you have put dog
Yeah,
on stream because the dogs featured prominently in that video.
The dog looks
They are
good.
literally.
Who
they're in
are
the
you
same
shooting
spot.
your videos with, by the way, Jess?
Oh
Card,
yeah, so
right?
Card, yeah, he's been with us at CES a few times. He's one of my favorites, and he's local to Phoenix. So
Shout out to
it's
Card,
pretty cool.
who's making
Shout out to
all
Card.
of Jess's videos look so great too.
Hell yeah, and Liv is editing. You got the whole team
Mhm.
back there, of course, right? Yeah.
So Mark Dell has some questions about storage. I think we answered most of the questions about storage, but like, good God, like, why is Call of Duty like 400 gigabytes?
Oh my gosh.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't
Cyberpunk
be
is
so
huge.
big.
Yeah. Call of Duty is
That's
like,
like-
literally 150 gigs. Like, it's massive. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Oh.
That sucks.
How big is Cyberpunk? Do we have a idea of how large it is?
Yeah, I think it's 85. If I remember correctly, it's like 85 gigs, which is also
That's
big,
normal,
but hey,
yeah.
it's smaller than Call of Duty. Yeah,
I can
it's
have
kind of
5
normal.
games with that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There you
That
go.
size.
Yeah, 5.
And yeah. I mean,
No
guys,
app.
like, I know people are complaining. People are complaining about all this stuff too, but these games, especially if you want 4K, you ask for 4K, guess what? Those textures are huge. So we gotta, like, this is the problem we have to live with, unfortunately.
Is
Yeah.
there the option of downloading like a light version without the extras? Like, I just
Well,
want the non 4K 1080p
If you
version.
buy the
Well,
Series
that's the
S,
Series
you
S,
won't,
yeah.
like, you'll have smaller textures. Yeah.
Maybe that's what I should do.
Yeah.
It doesn't have like actual 4K capability. So,
That's fine. I
Well,
don't have
yeah.
a 4K TV, and I mean,
well, there you go.
As you
Done.
can see, as I was trying to date Cherlynn's TV behind her, it's clearly
my
like
God.
a 10-year-old Samsung. So
That's chunky.
it's
Oh.
like a baby.
It's a
my
chunky boy.
baby
I
and
like
darling.
it.
yeah.
I like it.
Shout out to
I-
Alex
yeah.
Kranz from Gizmodo who gifted Cherlynn that
Gave
TV.
this her.
Otherwise,
she
Cherlynn
got
would
rid of
just
it by
be-
giving it to me.
Yeah, otherwise Cherlynn would just be playing solitaire on her phone forever.
Or Plants
Yeah.
vs. Zombies.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
or also I would be just using a projector maybe, but e-waste, like this would have been e-waste if I hadn't just adopted it. But
Right.
I do have my eye on another friend's old TV. They're like, we're thinking of buying a new TV. And I looked at them and I went, I would take this off your hands.
Yes. So, hey, that's a good way. Give away your old TVs, folks. Some of our former Engadgeters have my old plasma TV. So, hey, it's a good way to live.
You said something a while ago, like this was months and months ago, about a TV that had sort of like, its idle screen was a painting or something.
Oh, yeah, that's a Chromecast. Yeah, ambient mode.
You mean
the Samsung frame?
The Samsung frame.
Yeah, I think that's what
the
you
one
meant.
I want. That's like if I were to spend money on like a TV, I'd be like, oh.
Sure, would spend money on the So-So TV that just has this one flashy feature.
It looks so good though.
It looks fine. It looks cool, but
also like. It has a cool thing where like every hour and a half you could get some like high res scans from the Louvre or something.
Sure.
Just have a rotating Louvre in your apartment.
Mm-hmm. It looks like art. It actually does. The screen is like that paper like too. Back to gaming. Yes. I don't know how well the gaming would work with that. Jess, Tahama 1979 had a question. What's your favorite feature of the Series X?
Yeah, so far, quick resume and just the speed of the games. But quick resume, where you can jump between different games, it's a game changer. Oh man, I hate
this seems amazing.
But
it's a game-changing game changer.
It's really cool. It's a next gen game changer. But it's a really cool feature. Like there's not a ton of like new features like that on the console, like the HDMI. I guess we didn't talk about the HDMI 2.1 cable, like that allows the console to tell your TV to like turn on game mode, which is something that hasn't happened before. Some people probably don't even know their TVs have game mode. But when you start a game with Series X, that cable tells your TV to turn it on, and it'll give you the notification. So
what does game mode do? Because this one obviously doesn't have game mode.
No.
Hey,
your TV's like, what?
No,
games? I can't hear you.
Yeah, what's that?
Game mode.
Low latency.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it reduces a lot of the video processing that crappy displays typically put on videos. So basically, you want the low response time. So when you hit a button in your control pad, it actually hits the screen instantly. Gotcha. So game response typically does that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
We've been getting some questions about PS5 UI, but I don't know if we can really answer that because
also the Xbox One is getting the new. It has it now. If you have an Xbox One, you can update to the Series X UI. It's the new UI for everybody.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I didn't have that for the video. Yeah. So in the video, I'm showing off the old one, but they just updated that I think yesterday. So yeah, I have to look at that. And then the PS5, they just released their like video of their UI. And it looks really similar, but like kind of rounded. So yeah.
Okay, so I think we might want to move on to the end of the show stuff. But Jess, you haven't been on in a while, and last time you were on, you were talking about like Devil May Cry and like all of these games that could entice Cherlynn with like hot anime men. And so, like, if there were an Xbox game that you could entice Cherlynn to like play on her like possible Series S, what is the one with the hottest anime men?
Wow, that is
I don't think that's a draw, but go ahead.
Well, I can still answer.
I mean, it's like, no, like I don't want to be put in this pigeonhole, but also please continue.
Please. Is there a BTS anime game? Please. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. Dude, that would be incredible. There's a mobile game, but let's see. I'm trying to think. Devil May Cry is definitely on Xbox. I'm trying to. So if you want like anime stuff, honestly, PS5 is going to be your way to go. They're going to have more Japanese games. They're going to have more RPGs. They're going to have Final Fantasy. All this stuff. So hey, maybe you do need a PS5 actually.
That's what people in the chat have been saying too, where they're like PS5 has more exclusives that are better. My sense is that since I like a lot of these Pokemon Cafe Mix style games and like Pokemon games in general,
better
the Japanese way is the way to go for me, maybe.
Better. Well, also Game Pass is getting like all the Final Fantasies too. So
that's true.
Or the older ones. So there's stuff you could play. You played Yakuza, Jess. I feel like Yakuza would be a fun one for Cherlynn because that is wild and almost like anime-like gangster games.
Y'all are.
That's not bad.
It is a martial art. Fun. It is like a kung fu story. Yeah.
The games I find myself sticking to more are the ones with the cute cartoon animals, like the Overcooked and Pokemon.
Sure.
I got plenty of games like that for you on Xbox. Don't Starve. I talked about that a little. It's so fun. I think you would like Don't Starve. Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
This is going to be our whole new feature of getting Cherlynn into games. Serious fun.
I love it.
That you can't play on the back of a airplane seat.
Airplane seat.
Okay, I think we got to move on. Thanks so much for getting up and coming in, Jess.
Thank you so much, Jess.
Yeah. This was great. Thanks, guys. All right, have fun. Bye.
Bye.
Later.
Okay, let's go on to working on.
All right, let me pull up my show notes. Where are we? I lost everything. All right. Thank you, audience, for the questions. And yeah, it was a fun time.
I was laughing because we got a message from one of our video team people going, shouting out some of the game characters they like.
Some of the anime boys. Oh boy. Yeah.
Which I also realize is going on in the live chat, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't shout out to Free. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't ask gamers on chat about the best anime boy game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because that's all you're gonna get. All right.
Anyhow.
Let's move on to what we've been working on. I put up a review of the Surface Laptop Go this week. This was, we talked about it a couple weeks ago when Microsoft announced it. It is the baby boy, the tiny Surface laptop. It has a 12.4-inch screen. It's very cute. I think I enjoyed using it, but my review, it's interesting to see like how Microsoft balanced getting this thing cheap, making it kind of a budget machine because it starts at $550, but also still making it feel premium. And I dive into all that in my review. I think this is not a computer for people who have used a lot of laptops. If you're a prosumer, probably not for you because the screen is super low res. It's under 1080p. It is what else? The bottom of the case is made out of a plastic material, so it's not like all metal as all the other Surface laptops. It maxes out at 8 gigabytes of RAM, where I typically recommend people buy 16 gigabytes of RAM on any new computer to really make that last for 4 years or so. So it's limited in a lot of ways, but the price in particular, the $550 model, super, like it has the same processor as all the others, but only has 64 gigabytes of storage, and it's slow eMMC storage, which is basically the stuff on flash drives. It is not like the good SSD storage. It also only has 4 gigabytes of RAM. 4 gigabytes of RAM in a Windows PC. No, not in 2020. I don't think so, Microsoft. So the one I'd recommend, and I think for most people, would be like a $700 model that has, all these have good Core i5 quad-core CPUs, but that one has 8 gigabytes of RAM, 120 gigabytes of storage. Not much storage, but I think for a kid or for anybody's first computer or for undiscerning users, like, hey, this is fine for $700. The one we reviewed was $900. That has 256 gigabytes of storage and 8 gigabytes of RAM. At that price range, you could buy last year's XPS 13, our favorite PC laptop ever, but you could buy that for around $900 and still get a 4K screen and probably in some cases get better RAM too. So I think the $900 model is kind of a toss-up. This is an interesting play for Microsoft, but man, I feel like, Cherlynn, if you started using this, you'd find it cute but really annoying pretty quickly.
My main thing is like, what's the typing experience? Because it looks
typing
so
is good.
That video.
Typing is good because they did a good job of bringing in like the deep Surface keyboard, but they had to cheap out because there's no backlight. And if you're like me and you write a lot at night and type a lot in like low light environments, that is super annoying because then you have to have a light near you to actually see the keys properly. Just even like a simple on-off backlight would be nice, but that's all added cost that they can't really afford here.
Yeah, I mean, I was hopeful that this would be like a good entry point into the Surface laptops for people, just because
it is.
Laptop line is great,
but not the $550 model.
Not the 500, which sucks. I was excited for that price, but I guess Maybe it's 4 gigs of RAM.
4 gigs of RAM. So just like we reviewed the Surface Go 2 this year, which is the small, the smaller Surface tablet hybrid. And I think this is a little more impressive because the Surface Go 2 starts at $400, but also the specs there are super low, and you really wouldn't want to use a computer like that. To make the Surface Go 2 usable, you'd have to spend for like the $650 model, which even then, you have a small screen, you have a really, really slow processor because those are running Intel Y series chips. So anyway, I have complicated feelings about all of these. It's nice to see Microsoft making cheaper, smaller devices, but I don't think we're quite there yet. But hey, it's cute. It's cute. And if you're looking for a computer for your kids and they don't need to do much, Surface Laptop Go is fine. It plays Minecraft. It plays the basic game. So hey, that's fine.
Probably not League of Legends that I play.
I mean, probably League is, I don't know. You don't need much for League, but yeah.
You don't need much, but not, yeah. I might be maybe reaching finally heading towards a lull in work. But I still have to, Google is having an event later this afternoon. I still have to, there's some other things going on that I still can't talk about. Everybody knows that I have a lot of secrets. And laptop companies, next week there's 2 laptop companies that have their events. So we're going to be getting ready for PC news. Except I am penciled in for time off next week, so I won't be around. So good luck, Devindra, with that.
We'll see how this goes.
But yeah, I also this week covered news of the new Nest Thermostat. On Monday it was announced, and I like the look of the new one because it's like $130. It's very tiny. It's a touch-based design, so it gets rid of that like Hallmark, spinning frame.
That was good. Spinning frame, mechanical devices. Let us not lose this. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Samsung Galaxy Watch of thermostats, you know what I mean? But so it's not that you can't, it completely does away with that spinning frame. The Nest Thermostat with that feature is still available for sale, but the new Nest Thermostat, the $130 one, is just smaller. It's more elegant looking. I think it's super pretty, and I really want one, except for I rent an apartment. So we'll see. But check out that news. That's some of the stuff I've been working on as well. And fingers crossed you won't hear from me next week if I get to take my break.
Okay, well, I hope you get to take your break, Cherlynn. Let's move on to our pop culture picks. What have you have some secrets that you'd like to share? But also, I want to know what you plan to be doing next week to veg and watch too. So what's up?
Yeah. Finally, I've been putting off watching Haunting of Bly Manor that I've been dying to watch. As listeners of this podcast know, I've been waiting for a whole year to watch Haunting of Bly Manor. So hopefully next week I'll be able to do that and a lot of other stuff. And it'll be good because the last few days, I think, because I've been so drowned in the Pixel review that I actually haven't had time to watch all that much. I've been watching Evil, like you recommended, Devindra. I finished the first season. Was so annoyed by some of the characters, but anyway. And because those who have heard the last week's episode will know I committed to providing horror themed recommendations all through October. I really made it difficult for myself by doing that because everything I've watched since has been either already recommended in our show or upbeat. So not horror themed. So to dig deep into my troves. And I started looking for book recommendations. I was like, maybe there's a good horror book I can recommend you guys. I saw on the Kindle store this category, comics, manga, and I realized that oh crap, I have not told y'all about my favorite horror anime series. So this week my recommendation, if you can find it, is this little show called Jigaku Shoujo. Translated it means Hell Girl, and it's basically this girl who is
this a biopic, Cherlynn? Of yourself.
I wish it's so cool. She just basically the premise is it's somewhat Death Note where people can go to this website and they enter the name of their enemy or someone who has done them wrong. And this girl called Emma she serves revenge. She drags them to hell.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Pretty cool. It's really cool. I really like it. There's a backstory going with her character, but I watched this when I was a lot younger. I haven't seen it again since. It's supposedly on Prime Video, but I haven't been able to sort of rewatch it. The other series I want to recommend that's also horror theme anime is Pet Shop of Horrors. I believe this one's Clamp, and it's basically about this, woman who runs a pet shop, very exotic pet shop, but they sell there's little strange things happening to the people who buy pets from this store. Often these people have a certain vice. For some people, it's like domestic abuse. For some people, it's gambling, and the pet kind of tortures it out of them, more or less.
This looks like a 90s anime.
It is 90s.
Yeah. Just looking at the animations, I'm such a weeb. I can tell what genre or what era this is from.
I mean,
I remember the name. I never ended up seeing this. Yeah.
It's so good. I really enjoyed it, but it's so hard to find. I'm sure if you know of a good anime streaming service, I don't know, Crunchyroll or something, you might be able to find both of these. But if you've been looking for a good animated horror series, I love these two. These are my.
These are super cool. Yeah, well, actually, in that vein, since you were talking about horror, anime, and other stuff, so sorry, video team, because I didn't put this down. But one recommendation to you is anything by Junji Ito, including the great Uzumaki, which is a horror manga just about spirals infesting and infecting
Amazing.
a town in Japan, and it drives people insane. And Junji Ito, just his imagery is some of the most horrific stuff. You probably wouldn't even want to put it up on video because it will freak people out.
Wow.
So I would not recommend that.
Is it a manga or an anime?
It is the manga. There is an anime. The animes have been bad, so do not watch the animes. So I'll find the book.
Okay.
Find the books, read the books. They're really good. So there's that. I have been watching The Haunting of Bly Manor, which Cherlynn disappointingly still has not seen after being so
no time.
Wow. So Cherlynn for some reason wrote a 4,000-word review of the Pixel 4a 5G, and I'm like, I don't know why you didn't need to do that, Cherlynn. You don't need to go that hard. It's a Pixel 4a 5G.
No, I find our regular editor Terrence, who slashes the crap out of my reviews, is on vacation this week. So I was like, I can go ham. So I went ham.
Cherlynn's I'm just gonna hurt myself more with reviews. But Haunting of Bly Manor, it is very good. It is not like The Haunting of Hill House, which was the last Netflix series Mike Flanagan did. This is more of a gothic horror, gothic romance type thing, because there aren't really many jump scares. There's a great creep factor, and there are ghosts and there are things haunting this English manor, but it is it's more about character building. It's more about exploring these people, each of whom have issues and baggage and weight that they're bringing to this world. And the ghosts are really the things that haunt them. So the regrets they have in life, the people they feel they've let down, things like that. It is great, romantic in a way that I don't think anybody really expected, and it's just it's wonderful. It's a wonderful watch during October. It is not a super scare fest, but there is some imagery that will certainly freak you out. So I'm saying if you liked Haunting of Hill House, definitely watch this. But really, hey, folks, I've talked about Mike Flanagan before, but go watch anything he's done. Dr. Sleep, which came out last year, the sequel to The Shining that nobody really wanted, is fantastic. And if you have HBO Max, it's on there now. Click into the special features, watch the director's cut of that movie, because it is half an hour longer and it is so good. So I love Mike Flanagan. I love everything he's doing for horror. That is what you can watch for October, and be sure to check out Haunting of Bly Manor. And that is it for me right now. Cherlynn, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Yep, I'll do the outro. Ready?
Yes.
That's it for our episode this week, everyone. Thank you, as always, for listening. Our theme music is by game composer Dale North. Our outro music is by our very own Terrence O'Brien. The podcast is produced by Ben Ellman. You can find Devindra online at
Devindra on Twitter, and I podcast about movies and TV at the /filmcast at /film.com. Check out our latest reviews, and we're also launching a Patreon soon. So, hey, go take a look at that.
If you want to send me the names of your favorite hot anime men or cute anime characters and animals, you can find me on Twitter at Cherlynn Lowe. Email us your thoughts at podcast@engadget.com. Leave us a review on iTunes, please, and subscribe on anything that gets podcasts, including Spotify.
Okay, cool.
Woo.
We're out.
Recording stop.
So yes,
Are we
or
stopping?
no,
Keep it
continue. Maybe continue recording because who knows?
Okay,
yeah,
why don't you
if
guys do
we-
Q&A? I'm gonna run back to the bathroom. Be right
Yeah.
back.
a little bit of
Life is
I-
little
just
bit
too
of
much
Q&A.
coffee for me. Be right back.
That's okay, but you're gonna miss me talking about games with cats because Mark Dell mentioned something about a game with a cat, and that just like reminded me that there are so many games with cats. So Mark Dell mentioned a game called Ni no Kuni, I think, and it apparently there's a prominent cat that they call Your Majesty, which is adorable. Love that. And so that made me think, okay, there's actually a lot of new games with prominently featured cats, including Eichenfell or Eichenfell. Like my Twitter feed has been full of stuff for this game because who is it? Ivy Avi from who composed the music for Steven Universe also did the soundtrack for this game. And apparently you just save the game by petting a cat. Awesome. Love it. It's available for Switch, and I think it's available for lots of other platforms. It's on the Humble Bundle website. Then there's that game Stray. Do you remember the trailer with the little kitty cat who has
do
a
not
backpack?
remember.
It's PS5. Cat has a backpack. Like I think that might decide which next gen console I get because the cat has a backpack, and it also allows me to getting a PS5 also allows me to play Spider-Man Miles Morales. That also features a cat named Spider-Man. That's
so
my
good.
piece.
What about
Games with
Monster
cats.
Hunter? Monster Hunter, where the cats make you food, huh?
Ooh, I didn't
Monster
know about
Hunter
that.
World, yeah.
Y'all are cat people.
You
Good
get
for
cat
you.
companions, and also the cats are chefs in Monster Hunter World. So
Sounds amazing. Tahama had a very funny comment about, bro, 16 gigs is not even enough for my stylus. 16 gigs of RAM. That's funny.
no RAM measurement contest here, please.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mark Dell points out the Nest being installed in their rented apartment, but it falls off the wall when they turn the dial.
Not great. Not great.
Oh,
Not
boy.
great. I am looking to replace the thermostats in my place now because I finally can install things, and it's a constant game of like sitting and waiting. So the Nests are several years old now. Should I just wait? But I don't. I like the turning. I don't want the touch thing. But even then, the old stuff is going to have old software, and I don't know how long it's going to be updated. So that's the danger, right?
Some of the stuff is going to get updated. Some of the software is updating, like customizable schedules, I think, is coming out. Some of the HVAC monitoring features are coming out, but we can talk about that more. I want to quickly shout to Tahama, who said, wasn't there an anime like 10 years ago called Hellgirl? Yes, that's the one I'm talking about.
That's the one.
Jigoku Shoujo is the 10-year-old anime that I just recommended to everyone. I'm sorry, but it's a little bit obscure, but I really enjoyed it. And yes, her catchphrase was, perhaps it's time for you to die, except for in Japanese.
It was such a post-Death Note thing, as I recall.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was post-Death Note. It might have preceded Death Note. But I'm not sure. Kai Tongxue said, 大家好. Romar Gentiani says, Salamat Shopi. So hello to both of you.
Bruna in the chat says, I'm a bird person. We need more bird games, please. Come on, you've got chocobos in Final Fantasy.
You got chocobos. You got was it the Falcon Age game where you raise a falcon from a baby and you could play it in VR and pet the falcon in VR. I've been doing that. Great.
We need more. That isn't even haptic feedback. We just need like more complicated feedback in like VR gloves, and that's like years and years away. I think
it's years away, but you do get resistance in the controller, so you feel like a vibration as you pet it. And also you can have it on your arm, and I think when it lands on your arm like an actual falcon, like the controller shakes a little, and then you set it off to kill things. It's great. It's a great game.
Tahama has a deep cut question about the Google Smart Backpack. Like, throw it back to last week's work, but they say it seemed like it still had a very heavy reliance on my looking at or using the phone while interacting with the backpack's controls, and it's so it seems redundant. No, actually, it's just because during the video it's easier for me to hold the phone up to show you what it was doing, because otherwise you can't tell what I'm doing when I tap the touch fibers. But when you're commuting or when you're walking around, when you put the phone away, you can swipe on the backpack strap to skip a song. You can pause or assign it to whatever gestures. It's actually not that reliant on having the phone out. So there you go.
Speaking of games with birds, yes, Goose Game. I've been listening.
Yes.
I've just been walking around listening to Debussy a lot, going on bike rides, listening to Debussy. But the problem
does it make you want to be an asshole in real life?
Yeah, that's the problem. The soundtrack of Goose Game is rearranged Debussy.
Yeah.
So now I've gone from thinking oh, this is such beautiful music, I love expressionist music, versus I need to steal a farmer's watering can right now.
It's a good vibe for 2020.
Oh my goodness, that is hilarious.
Okay, are we close to done? I think we might be close to done.
Close to done.
Yeah,
close to
I
done.
think we're gonna start saying goodbye to everyone. Thank you to all the people with the good questions this time. Bryant, Markdell, Mauricio, D-Man, Tahama, I like shouting out people's names because I feel like y'all feel that y'all really know we're seeing you or interacting directly with you.
That is a good vlogger thing. Yeah. If you were an actual streamer, that's what you got to do.
Right. But that's also because that's why we're here. That's why we're here, Yeah, I think that's it. Do we have anything else?
No, but we would like to thank Owen Davidoff, Julio Barrientos. Who else is working video right now?
Whoever is
today,
on.
I don't know.
Greg Carmel. Thank you to Greg Carmel. And
I'm not friends with Greg anymore. It's an inside joke, but yes.
Thanks to everybody in the chat. We'll see you next week.
Next week, folks.